I'm Megan, and this will be my Wednesday slides. I actually thought mine were for this week and not last week, so that's on me. But, anyways, let's get started. So, as you know, I'm Megan. This is a picture of me. I am 19 years old, and I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. So, been there for almost 10 years. I am a cross campus transfer. So last year I was in LSA and I was actually an athlete. And then I retired to pursue academics and I wanted to go into stamps, so I applied and here I am now. I'm hoping to do an MDDP with either organizational studies or poli sci as my other major. I don't know fully if I want to do it yet, but also my family's pushing for that, but we'll see how that goes. In regards to my art, my inspiration honestly came a lot from Da Vinci, for one, because I love sketching and I love really detailed and intricate sketching with a lot of hatching and shading. And with Da Vinci, obviously, like in his sketchbooks, which were just renowned and beautiful, a lot of that was just simple sketches that turned into his amazing works. And so I definitely like to follow based off of him with my own personal twist on it. But all in all, he was one of the few artists that kind of like pushed me to keep working on my art. I also love disorder art, so I am diagnosed bipolar, and so a lot of art that I see that has to do with mental health, whether it be 2D, 3D, I think is super cool, and I definitely try to make artworks based off of that. Obviously, this is not mine, but I think disorder art's really cool, and it kind of defines how you can't see the disorder, but it's there, and it defines the person who has it. And this piece in particular, I actually saw scrolling through my Pinterest one day, and it kind of defines how with bipolar there's two very different sides, and you're kind of trapped within your medication, which I thought was just super interesting, and I really, really liked looking at this and some others. With my beginnings, I started out honestly getting super into art my senior year of high school, my freshman year of college. So, first off, my freshman year of college was a lot of just simple pen sketches, and my mental health at that time was not super great because of athletics. And so I poured all of my work into art, but I was just really like starting to get into it. So, it started out a little rough and very simplistic, and I kind of went from there. But ultimately, my work now is a lot better. But I still do little simplistic pen sketches when I'm in class or when I'm bored or at work, and they're honestly really fun. And I still love to do them. My first commission was actually my senior year of high school back home. So we have what is known as the Kentucky Museum of Arts and Crafts, which is in downtown Louisville. And every year they have the KMAC Couture Runway, which KMAC is their acronym, which every year the Couture Runway is titled Art Walks the Runway, and they release a curatorial statement, and you apply to get in, and you basically set up a design based on the curatorial statement, and you submit it and find out if you get accepted. And this really piqued my interest because I love 3D and I hadn't really gotten to work with it too much. And so I pursued 3D and I basically made my pencil into paper. And that year's curatorial statement was the ideal human. So I based a lot of mine off of, Greek and Roman gods. And, as you can tell, I had a fighting helmet with a train of feathers, which that took me a nice, 3 weeks and a lot of hot glue to make. But it was honestly so much fun, and I'm actually going to reapply this year, and I'm super excited to see what the curatorial statement is. Because last year I know it was stars, but I had finals when it occurred. But then again, COVID happened. But that's a different story. But ultimately, this was super fun, and it was great because they paid for all my materials and they gave me some extra money for myself for doing the runway. Obviously, it wasn't too much, but it was still just amazing to have this opportunity, and I'm super excited for this year's. My art now is very, very 2D based, which I honestly love. I love sketching and I love shading and hatching, and it's something I've definitely come to love. And so I still try to keep that simplistic aspect in there just because I think that simplicity can kind of make some of the best artwork pop. and it kind of leaves it up to interpretation for the viewer if they want to add more distinction, add more detail, but they can do that in their head and kind of determine what they want out of my art. So I've definitely turned to a little bit more intricacy, but very much more pencil based, but definitely a lot more detailed than what I had started off with, which I'm really happy about. Here's some of the more art I have now, which I tried to integrate more color into, because color is something that I work with decently, but I don't work with it all too often. So these are a couple pieces I did based off of color aspects, but I still wanted to keep that black and white. So I made the background kind of help pop out and kind of add some dimension to my art now, which was a lot of fun. But color is definitely still something I got to work on a little bit, just because with color I sometimes don't know how to place it, while with black and white it's pretty simple and you can use the colors on the page to help make things pop, and the whites will come off really well in contrast with the darks, which I love to do. What I hope to come is a career in design. So obviously I've done fashion design and I do a lot of design, but I want to go into tattoo artistry. So being that I love designing tattoos, none of these are my own itself because I currently have all my tattoo designs at home, sadly. But tattoo artistry is something I've always wanted to go into because I want my art to make a very impactful statement, impression on a person. And with tattoo artistry, you're putting something on somebody for years, forever. And I want it to have an impact, and I want my art to basically be shown like, hey, this is something I've done and it is going to be represented forever. And I love designing simplistic things, as I have said earlier, which a lot of tattoos are pretty simplistic. Even the sleeves and half sleeves have so much simplicity to them with just shading. And I want to continue working on that and pushing myself towards my apprenticeship. So after I graduate from stamps, I plan on getting my apprenticeship. And I also want to minor in business and hopefully start off and get a chair at a parlor, and then hopefully open my own parlor in one of the major cities, which a lot of major cities have great art scenes and tattoo scenes. So Portland, Oregon's probably my goal, as Portland has one of the top 10 tattoo artistry scenes in the country. And even as it's super competitive, I really, really want to pursue that, just because, as I said, I love making impacts on people, and tattoos are a huge impact you can make. And I've actually started already getting good and into tattoo artistry with stick and pokes, but definitely want to work with the gun once I start my apprenticeship, and hopefully, give tattoos to people, thousands of hundreds of people, and, make these impacts on them. So anyways, these are my Wednesday slides. I apologize again for thinking they were this week and not last week. But at the end of the day, I've really loved watching all of you guys's. It's super cool to see whose art has become what and how people have had inspirations. And it's definitely super cool, and I can't wait to see everybody else's. Thanks so much, guys.